I've been thinking a lot about a CatDog episode I watched. The episode, Alone in the World. Yes, there wasn't any episode named Alone in the World. Or as you think. Let's start off with a story, if you will. When I was a little girl, my favorite channel was Nickelodeon. My favorite on the channel was definitely CatDog. It first aired on my 6th birthday in April of 1998. I had a CatDog themed birthday party when I turned 7 the following year. I was 13 years old when it ended in June of 2005. I graduated 7th grade that day. I was heartbroken to see it go. I spent the majority of my life watching this show. But I still got to see reruns until they stopped showing reruns when I was entering my sophomore year of high school in 2007. Now this upset me. All they cared about was SpongeBob. But 90s were all that changed everything. When it came out in 2011 before I started my college sophomore year, those 2 hours were all I cared about, just to see my precious childhood memories of CatDog. Then, it was revamped to the Splat in 2015, extending from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This meant that I could watch more of my memories. It was then renamed to Nixplat in May of 2017. Sorry for that long and agonizing story. But we're moving on. So, let's find out what that episode of CatDog is, shall we? It was a late August night in 2017. August 27th to be exact. By then, I had recorded almost every episode of CatDog. As I checked the episode guide for any episode of CatDog I hadn't recorded, I saw something that had looked like an error. The same exact episode was playing at both 4:30 and 5. The episode was House of CatDog and CatDog Campers. I decided to check if this was some joke or something by recording both time slots. Then my girlfriend, Sadie, and I, yes, in a lesbian deal with it, both went to bed. I forgot about it until September 1st. It just popped back into my mind while watching Victorious around 8 p.m. I called Sadie from the kitchen that there was a strange occurrence in the Nixplat schedule where a CatDog episode was repeated twice, and I would be watching it. Sadie was well aware that I watched CatDog on a daily basis. She would usually join me and watch too, because she grew up with it when it came out when she was 4. She joined me on the love seat with no hesitation. The 4:30 airing was peachy keen. But there was a problem with the fast forwarding. All of a sudden, the screen went black. I tried to exit out, and it wouldn't work. Sadie gets really creeped out around TVS because she used to have nightmares of Nick Jr. face popping up on the TV when the TV was off. I comforted her because she still gets that paranoid feeling every now and then. The recording came back on and I fast forwarded it like so. There was nothing wrong with it. But there was something clearly wrong with the 5 airing. Once I selected it, it was already into the theme. As always, Sadie and I sang to the theme song. Once it was over, Nixplat font came up saying, "Warning. This contains content unsuitable for ones that don't want their childhood to be ruined. We at Nixplat apologize in advance." This was really weird. I mean, they weren't this depressing. Also, ruined childhood. How will this ruin my... All of a sudden, a title card popped up. The title was Alone in the World. Obviously, it was a part of the lyrics of the theme song. But this made me tear up. It was Cat, my favorite character on the show, hanging from a noose, head drooping down. Right next to him was Dog. He was holding a marijuana joint in his hand, eyes teared up and closed. He looked pissed off, like he was the one that made Cat kill himself. He had piercings in his forehead, ear, and nose. He was also wearing a wristband. It went to the episode. As the date December 18th, 2005 showed up on the top, it started off pretty brutal. Poor Cat being beat up again like he always is. But it wasn't the regular dust clouds and teeth cartoony falling out. It seemed more realistic. Cliff was beating the crap out of him. Punching his face several times, blood gushed out of his nose. Tears were in his eyes as he was forcefully punched by Lube's fist in the jaw. I was shocked. Sadie got pissed. She hates when Cat gets in trouble for nothing. As Shriek punched him in the nose, he fell down, his face now all bloodied. He was holding back tears as Dog comforted him. The greasers walked away. Dog told him sincerely, "Don't let them get to you, Cat." Cat replied weakly, "I tried not to, but they still do." It faded to the night time at CatDog's house, where Cat was seen crying, telling Dog he wants it to end. "Danny, I'm a bit worried," Sadie said. I told her not to worry, as we snuggled up together. Text appeared as the screen faded to black. It said December 192005. Audibly the worst. Once it faded back, Dog was just waking up. He turned his head towards Cat, and his jaw dropped in horror. This was probably the worst thing I ever witnessed on television yet. Cat was hanging by a noose, just like in the title card. A suicide note on the right side of the bedroom wall said, "The world keep me down," so I took my defeat and left. "I'm sorry, goodbye." I started to bawl my eyes out. Sadly had to cover my mouth to avoid waking up the children in the downstairs apartment. I looked at the TV and just found Dog crying as well. But it was much harder for him. That was his brother he was connected to since the day of their birth. When it transitioned to the date December 25th, 2005, Dog now had legs and a tail. He was holding a bouquet of flowers and a grave stood in front of him. It showed that it was Cat's grave, of course. On it said, "Rip Cat, the most trustworthy person I know, April 4th, 1971, December 19th, 2005. CatDog would then be exactly 21 years older than me. But besides that point, Dog said to the grave, "You would have liked these flowers." His voice was breaking as he said it in a monotone voice, far away from his happy-go-lucky voice. Obviously, he's going through PTSD. I was so sorry for him. The screen then faded to the date December 31st, 2005, where Dog was sitting alone on the couch. Counting down from 10 could be heard on the TV. But there was only one TV there. Dog wasn't counting down, and once it got to 0, he said, "Happy New Year, Cat, love you with all my heart." As text popped up on the top of the screen, saying January 1st, 2006, he looked to the other side of the couch and said, "Wish you were here." I was still crying. This was my favorite show growing up. And now Cat was dead. I looked at Sadie, and she was also sad. She tried to hold back her tears. It faded to the date January 9th, 2006, showing Dog at a bar, drinking alcohol. He suddenly stopped and started thinking out loud, "Cat wouldn't like me doing this," while looking above him. He looked down and said, "I just want him back," and started sobbing. This was just so depressing to watch. I also wanted to know how Nickelodeon would ever let anyone be committing suicide on their channel. Pigeon Man on Hey Arnold didn't get away with it. The date changed to January 11th, 2006, where Dog was cutting himself. I was really scared, because I was actually someone who cut themselves when stressed. Sadie was the one who helped me stop cutting in college. "Love you, Sadie." He said, "I can, but I need the..." He cut through his flesh screaming in agony. Sadie cringed at this. She hates when people self-mutilate themselves. That's the reason why she stopped me from cutting myself. The date came on as January 12th, 2006, where Dog now had multiple cuts on his arm, and was saying in a lower voice, sort of like SpongeBob in a monotone voice, "Need to, want to, have to," over and over again. He cut himself once more. Blood oozed out as he screamed a SpongeBob-like blood-curdling scream. Sadie squeezed me hard, having a panic attack at the screaming Dog. She was crying as he did so. I hugged her too, and told her that I would keep her safe. She felt much better when it then changed to the date January 14th, 2006, where Dog was drinking alcohol again. He was repeating the same "need to, want to, have to," over and over again. He gulped it like a person who didn't have water for days. The date changed again, this time to February 19th, 2006, still repeating the same thing. He now looked exhausted, bags under his eyes. He stopped and said, "I don't need this anymore," and walked off. The date then switched to March 17th, 2006, where Dog was seen looking out the window. He reached for the blinds, still staring at the window. He closed the blinds very slowly, and it switched to him inside, saying in his new monotonous voice, "Help me, Cat, I'm alone in the world." Obviously, there was no reply. He put his hands on his eyes and cried softly to himself. Then the screen faded to black, now only showing the date June 1st, 2006. When it faded back, it showed Dog with his back on some kind of brick wall, which obviously wasn't CatDog's chimney. It seemed more like the alleyways of Nearburg, the town CatDog lived in. The most noticeable thing is that Dog was smoking a marijuana joint. Sadie was just staring at the TV. Seriously, she was shocked at how far this show was taking it. But this is what happens in the real world. But CatDog isn't supposed to be about the real world. It's a comedy. Sorry, my critic is showing. Dog said, I'm really sorry, Cat, but I can't live without you unless I do this. He put the joint back in his mouth and started smoking it again. It changed to the date July 7th, 2006, where Dog now had the same ear piercings and wristband that he had on the title card. He looked pissed off and said, you can't be dead. As he cut himself again, he repeated, you can't. I started to hug Sadie again because she was getting a bit panicky. The date then switched to August 27th, 2006, where Dog seemed to be at the bar with two other people hanging out with him. They seemed to be having fun, making Dog jealous. One of them made some kind of joke, but it was muffled out by loud conversations going on in the background. They started to laugh, and the one who told the joke elbowed Dog in the arm. Dog hesitated and then plastered a fake smile on his face. He fake laughed as well. He then looked the other way and growled. He growled because he was alone in the world. The date then came on as November 18th, 2006, which is Sadie's birthday. Dog was sitting on the couch, arms extended. Winslow, the jackass mouse that lives with CatDog, came out of his little mouse house. Winslow cackled like a witch and taunted Dog, saying, man, Dog, you're a mess. Dog took out his knife and replied, keep saying that shit and you'll end up like my arms. Winslow was about as shocked as Sadie and I were. Dog was cussing in a show meant for elementary schoolers. Winslow was obviously pissed, but it was his fault for fucking around with Dog. He went back to his little mouse house, then came out with a suitcase. He said, whatever. I'll come back when you're not a mess. When Winslow was finally off screen, Dog rolled his eyes and said, yeah, and go fuck yourself for saying that shit. I just felt terrible for Dog. He was never going to be the same after a losing cat. Then, the date changed to December 19th, 2006, 1 year after Cat killed himself. Dog was putting a bouquet of flowers on Cat's grave. After he was finished, he ran away. It then changed to him on the sofa, smoking more weed. He looked to his left to see a picture of him and Cat, side by side. The picture was dated as August 8th, 1997. Dog teared up and said, even though I might be losing control, he paused, then said in probably the lowest voice I have ever heard Tom Kenny do, I won't forget you. The date then changed to January 1st, 2007. Dog was watching the ball drop again, with a more angry expression. Once it got to 0 this time, he said, I don't need this shit. Damn. Dog was swearing like a sailor. It then changed to the date November 22nd, 2007. I think it was Thanksgiving. That was more than 10 months later. Dog was looking at the same picture and said very solemnly, I am not thankful, I have nothing left. It then showed a flashback of Cat getting beat up while Dog was saying in the background he wasn't strong, but it wasn't his fault. It was those goddamn greasers. He yelled, they killed him. Dog let out a large roar, screaming like he did when he cut himself. At this point, Sadie was wailing. She hates screaming, if I didn't mention. Instead of squeezing me, she squeezed the sofa pillow. Hard, she said, Danny, I need some water. I'll be back. She walked across the studio to get a water bottle from the kitchen. She instantly came back with one, because our apartment is really small. It changed to December 19th, 2007, 2 years after Cat was killed. Dog was in front of Cat's grave. He held the picture of them in his hand. He looked at it and started tearing up. Utter silence filled the room. After a bit, Dog broke the silence by growling and saying, I'll bring you back. He ran away with the picture in his hand. The date changed to January 1st, 2008, where Dog was snorting cocaine. He looked at the ball drop on the TV for a second and went back to what he was doing. The date then changed to February 14th, 2008, where Dog was putting up posters saying things like, don't enter or I'll shoot, on the windows. He was now blocking himself from the outside world for good. I was crying like a baby. He went insane. Sadie was still shaken about when Dog screamed. We were a mess. The date then changed to May 6th, 2008, where Dog was writing a note. It said, why should I live in a world where the only person I live for is dead? He stuck it on the bedroom wall. He held the picture of him and Cat in his hands. He said, don't worry, Cat, I am coming back to you. The date then changed to May 7th, 2008, where Dog was standing on the top of the house, arms extended. He said, "This is to see you again, cat." He fell forwards and I wailed again. Sadie had to cover my mouth again. I was sobbing. Not only had cat commit suicide, but now dog as well. My childhood had officially died. The characters I grew up with had died. But what came next was what made me feel a bit better. Dog woke up on what seemed to be a cloud in the sky. His piercings were gone. A familiar voice asked, "Dog, need a hand, dog?" A large weight lifted off my shoulders. As that was revealed to be Cat's voice, I stopped crying sorrowfully and started crying joyfully. Cat lent out a hand to Dog, and Dog grabbed his hand. Once Dog got up, he and Cat held hands, as they were now in heaven. They smiled, as Dog said in his regular old voice, "Hi-ho diggity." They teared up and hugged each other, crying tears of joy. I was crying tears of joy, and Sadie was too. CatDog was reunited as one, as the screen slowly faded to black. The split screen credits rolled as usual. But on the little screen where they play those promos, it was a note rolling like credits. The note seemed to be from Peter Hannon himself. Well, I'm pretty sure the animation of the episode we watched was the same as all the other episodes. I don't really remember much about the notes aside from the dates, but let me try. Remember, this was recorded August 28th. Hey there, it's Peter Hannon. If you don't know who I am, I'm the creator of CatDog. This episode was originally going to air on August 28th, 2008 on MTV, early at 5 in the morning. It was going to end the series. But I realized how people may have reacted if they saw this, so I covered it up as if it had never existed. I was hesitant about airing it until I decided to put it on the Nextplat channel exactly 9 years later, at 5 a.m. I hope this didn't ruin your childhood, and I'm sorry if so. Just remember that they are back together. I hope you won't forget them. Thanks for watching CatDog. Goodbye. The rest of the recording was only commercials. There weren't even any of Nextplat's promos. Just commercials. They were all repeated like 4 times each. I made it easier by fast forwarding it. After the very long commercial break was over, I stopped fast forwarding and another episode of CatDog started. Luckily, it was normal. Once the episode started, the recording ended. I decided to keep it. Sadie got up off the couch and said, "I am going to make some chicken and rice. Wanna help me?" I said, "Sure, just give me a moment." I went to mine and Sadie's room and opened the box of my old toys in the closet. I reached for my old CatDog plush I got on my 7th birthday, gave it a big hug, and kissed both cat and dog. And I told them, "I won't forget you."